Okay, so now let's look at the test review for the first 9 weeks test for classifying real numbers, and we'll look at numbers 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. And we're going to actually start off with number 14 because it says draw a Venn diagram to show all the classifications of real numbers. So we're going to start with that one because once you draw the actual Venn diagram, it will help you answer numbers 10 through 13 and then also number 15. Okay, and so I've already drawn it, and then I'm going to put just a few examples of the real numbers based on the classification. So I'm going to start actually with irrational numbers, and one of the irrational numbers is going to be pi. Okay, and then we have, let's see, the square root of 2 is an irrational number. It can be the square root of 15. Okay, so these are just some examples of irrational numbers. And then for rational numbers, we have 1/2, we have 0.5 or 5/10. Okay, we can also do, 3/4. Any of those are considered rational numbers. And another word for rational is fraction. Okay, and so we have 1/2 there. And then for integers, then we can have, it's going to be, we have -2, -4, it could be any negative number if we can stay with that. And then for whole numbers we can use 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so those are just a few of the different classifications or examples of the classifications for real numbers. So let's look at number 10. So it says classify 6 pi thirds as a whole number, integer, rational number, irrational number, or real number. Write all names that apply. So whenever we first see a fraction, the first thing you need to ask yourself, okay, can I reduce this fraction? So I can. The common factor between 6 and 3 is 3. So I can divide both my numerator and denominator by 3, or I can just say 6 divided by 3 is 2. So I end up with 2 pi. And I can jump right into saying that if I have pi here, then I know pi is an irrational number. So therefore, 2 pi is an irrational number, and it's also a real number. Okay, so I'll abbreviate. So 2 pi is an irrational number, and it's also a real number. And then when we look at number 2, it says choose 2 of the following terms for A and B to make this diagram true. Whole numbers, integers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, and real numbers. Okay, so there are various types, a combination of these, but the one that's the best choice, because we have one as far as B is concerned, and then we have the last one, or the smallest subset is going to be A. So the smallest subset we can look over here, which is going to be whole numbers. So A is going to be whole numbers, and then above whole numbers we have integers. Okay, and so on the test I would advise you guys to know how to actually write down the Venn diagram for real numbers, put some examples in there, so when you're answering these type of questions, then you have something visible to go by. Okay, so now let's look at number 12. It says choose 3 of the following terms for A, B, and C to make this diagram true. And our options are whole numbers, integers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, and real numbers. So we have 3 subsets, and so we have 3 choices, and we can go back again over to our Venn diagram. So we know that the innermost, if we want to look at 3, the innermost could be our whole numbers again, which is A. So I'll do whole, and I'll abbreviate. And then when we go up 1, then we have integers, so B could be integers. And then the last one up would be rational. Okay, so that's how you would classify and be able to fill in this diagram using the classification of real numbers. So the last one, oh, well, next to the last one, number 13, it says which term for set A, which is this set here, makes this diagram true. So it has real numbers, so we can look at our Venn diagram again. We have real numbers here, and then under irrational numbers, we have it here. The only thing, we don't have another subset under irrational numbers, we just have examples of irrational numbers. So which term for set A makes this diagram true? There's not another set, so there isn't a subset, we'll say that, a subset of irrational numbers. Okay, and so then the last one we have is classify, number 15 says classify the square root of 25 as a whole number, integer, rational number, irrational number, or real number. And it says write all names that apply. So again, the first thing we want to do with a fraction, we want to ask ourselves, can I reduce this or simplify this fraction? And so we know that 25 is a perfect square. So the square root of 25 is going to be 5, and then I have 3 as my denominator. So now I have this fraction, and so now I want to go and look at, let me look at my Venn diagram, find a fraction. Okay, so a fraction here is considered to be a rational number. So I have rational number, and if it's a rational number, it's also a real number. So rational and real are the two. Okay, so those are the questions on the review that highlight classifying real numbers.